Cool. So thank you for choosing to be with us today in our virtual world. We know you have lots of choices and some actually where you can show up in person. So we're really glad you chose to be with us here in this virtual community space. We have looked at what it would take for us to be in person and continue to explore that. And it's a little challenging because we don't want to lose the people who are local and still want to join us via live stream, and the people who are not local and want to join us by live stream. So it's something the board is talking about, something we're continuing to look at. And until we figure that out, or the Gregory decides to let us be there in person, we will be here. So we're grateful you're here with us today. So today, July, we start a new month and a new theme. And July is typically about freedom. That makes sense, right? And because of a reading in 365 Days of Richer Living, a book that was co-written by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker from June 17th, I decided it might be fun and informative to look at freedom in a new way, in a new light. So from that reading, the second paragraph of that reading, details can no longer exhaust me, and my variety of duties shall no longer disturb me. In all that I have to do, there is a single power and a single mind operating. It directs my ways and makes light my burdens. I arise out of the many and find rest in the one. I now accomplish all that needs to be done with inner peace and poise. I am no longer distracted. I work with ease. Life is a pattern of wholeness, and all details fall into their right place and are completed with ease. I am overshadowed with wisdom and embraced by love. It is good to know this and to feel the one divine presence. So this month, we're going to be looking at what it means for each of us to see life as a pattern of wholeness. Dr. Holmes wrote about this idea extensively in The Science of Mind, and it also makes a regular appearance in Rick Hanson's book, Resilient, that we used during June for our month-long book study, which is now held over for another week. And Beryl mentioned that, so I don't need to mention it again. And if you want to join us this week for our class on Tuesday night, I added a couple of chapters from a different book, The Resilience Factor, by Dr. Karen Rivich and Dr. Andrew Schott, in last week's electronic newsletter. So if you want to join us and you want to have the book material we're working with, you can look at those chapters, print them if you wish. They include practices that we can use to strengthen our ability to be more resilient, regardless of what happens in the world in front of our eyes. So a question, actually a series of questions for you. How would our experience of our world change if we each saw everything already as whole? So what does the word whole mean to you? Typically, whole means nothing missing and nothing extra. The whole watermelon, the whole pie, cut from whole cloth, the whole 9 yards, the whole enchilada, the whole shebang. I can't believe I ate the whole thing, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But what does it mean for life, for us to recognize life as a pattern of wholeness? So if you actually saw your life and your world as whole already, how would that affect your experience of freedom? You do have access to all of it already. How free do you feel? How free are you? Well, earlier this past week, I wasn't having a feeling of freedom and wholeness in my life, my house, my body, or anything. I had a 2-inch wood roach show up in my bedroom Monday night at bedtime. In the Deep South, they call them palmetto bugs. It makes them seem not so scary. And I'm one of those people, and apparently there are many of us, who have a phobia about cockroaches. I can't kill them with my shoe. I just can't do it. And I didn't have any bug spray in the house. I even have a hard time picking up a dead one. So the kind, compassionate Buddhist idea of escorting a live bug back outside where it belonged wasn't going to happen. Part of me was thrilled, honestly, because bugs seeking higher ground meant it was going to rain soon. Part of me was not thrilled because I felt stuck cohabitating with a bug in my house until I could get some bug spray. And the worst part, I wasn't driving to town until Wednesday. So I couldn't get bug spray until Wednesday. It climbed on the curtain in the bedroom and it stayed there Monday night. It stayed there all day Tuesday. It stayed there all day Tuesday night. And sometime in the middle of the night, Tuesday night, it left. Wednesday morning when I woke up, it was gone. Now, I don't know about you, but if I know a bug is there and I can see it, then it's not quite so bad. But if it's in my house and I can't see it, I don't know where it went. And that's a problem. So I turned on the shower to get ready for the morning daily practice meditation thing, and it scurried out of the drain. So you can imagine that I scurried really fast out of the shower. And I decided my hair looked good enough for Zoom, and my shower would wait until the bug was no longer in the bathroom. Like a human, after I'd rolled around in my pity party for a good while, I remembered one of the basic teachings of New Thought. I get to experience what I focus on. You know this. I'm not telling you something you don't know. And it is so easy to forget that we, our minds, our thoughts, our emotions, our intentions, our focus create our experience. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind, page 194, paragraph 5, wrote, "One of the most important things for us to remember is that we are always causing something to be created for us. And that whatever we have set in motion in our thoughts must produce some kind of effect. The question, are we producing the effects we'd like to experience? The creative process will go on. So if I focus on bugs in my house, I get more bugs. If I focus on people being lazy or stupid or some other derogatory thing, then I get to experience people doing that derogatory thing. If I focus on the diagnosis I get from a medical professional, then I add weight and power to their words. Rather than realizing that doctors are wrong, they're people too, and that the mind-body connection is real. And I can affect my body by the thoughts I put into it. We have a certain amount of control in our experience of wholeness. And every bit of it happens in our own minds, our thoughts, our feelings, our experience, and how we choose to see this world in front of us. So, a story you already know probably. This is how Norman Cousins cured himself of an almost universally fatal disease called ankylosing spondylitis. In his book, Anatomy of an Illness, first published in 1979, he described his recovery process. Cousins had learned that negative emotions, such as frustration or suppressed rage, are linked to adrenal exhaustion. Therefore, Cousins assumed the opposite was also true, that positive emotions, love, hope, faith, laughter, confidence, would yield salutary or beneficial results. However, Cousins also knew that putting positive emotions to work is nothing like just turning on a garden hose. He also consumed large amounts of vitamin C to counter his inflammation and repair his immune system because he believed that would work. And he watched funny TV shows like Candid Camera and the Marx Brothers films to help him manage the pain of his illness. He discovered 10 minutes of belly laughs would give him 2 hours of pain-free sleep without any medication. Another author, Jon Kabat-Zinn, wrote Full Catastrophe Living in 1990, and he stressed the value of mindfulness-based stress reduction and the mind-body connection as critical to healing, wellness, and wholeness. His Zen training is evident in his emphasis on non-duality, also known as oneness or interconnectedness. If there's only one of us, and wholeness is who we are, how can you be upset with that? How can you be upset about that? If there's only one of us and it's us, all of us, how can any of us be upset about that? Some of you may have read one or both of these books since they were published, and you may still have them on your bookshelves. One of the new courses that CSL has recently put out that's interesting to me, that I included in the list of potential new courses that in the newsletter 3 weeks ago, that we could possibly explore this fall, was called Revealing Wholeness. It uses 2 books. Mind Over Medicine by Dr. Lissa Rankin was originally published in 2014 and revised in 2020. And then The Science of Mind text by Ernest Holmes. If you haven't yet expressed your interest in the potential new courses in the newsletter, please do so. The survey closes on Wednesday of this week, and the results will be reported Wednesday next week. So what do we do if we decide to change our minds about how awful our life experience is? Our brand new licensed practitioner, a transfer from CSL in Bakersfield, California, Sharon Wheely, yay, Sharon, read this for us earlier today. We're glad you're here, Sharon. Thank you so much for joining us. From Dr. Ernest Holmes, The Art of Life, pages 3 and 4. There is a universal wholeness seeking expression through everything. We are calling it simply life. The religionist calls it God. The philosopher calls it reality. Life is infinite energy coupled with limitless creative imagination. It is this invisible essence and substance of every visible form. Its nature is goodness, truth, wisdom, and beauty, as well as energy and imagination. Our highest satisfaction comes from a sense of conscious union with this invisible life. All human endeavors are attempts to get back to first principle, to find such an inward wholeness that all sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty vanishes. We have to turn our face, our focus, our intention away from the relative, the changeable, the impermanent, our three-dimensional experience, from what seems to be true, and look at the perfection. Perfect God, perfect human, perfect being. We have to look at wholeness, absolutely complete, absolutely with fault, just exactly as it is, and oneness, the interconnectedness of all life. Remembering these truths gives us an experience of freedom. Imelda Shanklin, who joined a Unity Church, back then it was called Unity Church of Practical Christianity, and in the South her name would be Imelda, but never mind. She joined the Unity Church in 1907 and later wrote several of their commonly used texts, In one of her books called All Things Made New, she wrote this: "Let us wail no more the dirge chords of negation. Let us cease the monotone of the uneventful. Let us make mute the notes that sing of the non-existent past. Let us lift up the anthem shout of praise for the ever-ready goodness. Let us sing of the unfolding freshness of our days. Let us pitch our tones to the glad heights that tell of God with us, working for us and in us through ceaseless change, to baptize us with the newness that crowns all its works. So shall the new heaven descend through mind to bring forth their new earth. So shall we walk and talk with God in an age-abiding joy." We have to remember the era that Imelda was writing, 1926, and cut her some slack for all those flowery words. But the content, the feeling of that, we've got to shut our minds and our point of view to everything that's in front of our face that doesn't serve us, and look at that which we wish to have, that feeling of wholeness, that feeling of freedom, that feeling of life. And that's our job. That's what we get to do. That's part of this practice that's constant and rewarding when we manage to remember to do it. So before I close, I want to tell you what happened after I realized I was dissing myself and my world about the cockroach early last week. The first thing I remembered was David Whyte's poem, "Everything is Waiting for You," which I'll read in a minute. I shifted my awareness. I shifted my attention. I still had the roach on my floor, right? He was still there. And I remembered I had air conditioning. I had a comfortable bed to sleep in. I did have hot water in my shower and no roach crawling out of the drain. I had light, I had power, I had Earl Grey tea, hot, 1 sugar. There were clouds in the sky and the promise of rain. I had enough gas in my car to get to town and back twice, and good tunes in the CD player. The garbage truck guys would come and pick up the roach carcass when I finally killed it. And I started feeling better. And when I got to the office, which is where I was headed before I went to the store to buy the bug spray, the work that I needed to do wasn't all that horrible. And I had access to everything I needed to do it. And then the phone rang. It was a ministerial acquaintance calling from Hawaii, offering to help me with anything she could do from a distance. And I never even asked for help. She just, out of, you put it out in mind, and mind says, let's see, who do I have that can, oh yeah, I'll send Beverly. Beverly can do that. And another friend called who normally just wants to commiserate. That day, he wanted to tell me about the cardinal's nest that he found in one of his shrubs and how quickly the baby cardinals grew up. It doesn't matter. It does matter whether I'm looking at the world through photograys or whether I'm looking at the world through my rose-colored glasses. I get to decide what I see. There's freedom and there's wholeness in that. Every single one of us gets to decide how to give value and importance to the good stuff and the not so good stuff that happens. And we get to feel supported by our lives or unsupported. That's part of the package deal that we have as humans. So without preaching, David Whyte, your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you, at times, have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. And the doors have always been there to frighten you and to invite you. And the tiny speaker on your phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and see the good at you and last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. So we get to decide how to be. We get to decide how to view this experience called life. And we get to decide whether we're looking from lack or whether we're looking from abundance, whether we're looking from sadness or unjoy, or whether we're looking from joy. We get to decide if we're scaredy cats or if we feel brave. Every single moment of every single day, we get to choose. Choose what serves you. Do that. Bless yourself and bless us all. Thank you. So I want to roll into the prayer. So if anything that I said sings to you and you got some idea of some greater good, some greater viewpoint, some greater way of seeing or being that you wish to explore and experience, hold that in your mind while I speak the words. I relax into this thing called life. And I remember that it's not a chore, it's not an effort, it's not a challenge. It's an opportunity. And it's a practice of aliveness, because I know this gift of life already is given. And the love and the joy and the wholeness and the harmony and the peace and the poise and the power already are given. And I get to decide whether or not I'm going to pay attention to them. And even when I forget, even though I do forget, I can choose again and remember again. And I can see that whole and holy essence. And I can put that on, and I can change my view, and I can see the world as designed, as a wondrous, magnificent, magical place where God shows up as love and peace and power and joy and light and life and love. And I know this truth for myself and for each and all. Every single one of us has this opportunity at every moment of every day, because the gift already is given, and we are the ones that shut it out when we're not having that experience. And we are the ones who can free ourselves by allowing this great good to enter. And so I choose and choose and choose again. And when I find myself in a deep, dark hole, I climb out. And I remember God as love and peace and power and joy. And I behave that way. And I see that. And I act that way. And I know that truth. And I know that same possibility. I know that same truth for and about each and every beloved individual on this call. I know God lives as us and enjoys showing up as each one here. And I bless each and all as they move through their experience as the divine, as themselves. What a joy it is. I know this truth in joy, delight, peace, and ease, and I let it be. And so it is.